Magandang umaga po mga kaibigan. Ngayon po'y Marso na. It's the 1st of March. Kilalang-kilala yung Sergio Mendez sa awiting Waters of March. Pero yung pong buwan ng Marso ay buwan din ng kababaihan. It's about time we focus on women. Why? Kung walang kababaihan, walang daigdig, walang mundo, walang magsasaling lahi. Sabi nga dun sa awitin ng Inang Laya, dun sa babae ka, kung ikay wala, saan kaya ang buhay ipupunla? So let's start our discussions today. We're joined by Sister Mary John Mananzan, a
Hi.
Benedictine, at siya po ay dating Pangulo ng St. Scholastica's College at dating co-chair ng Association of Major Religious Superiors in the Philippines. Kasama rin po natin si Dr. Krishna Ray Palses. Siya po ay Director ng Gender and Development Office sa Philippine Normal University. And we're joined by Miss Bernadette de los Santos, foundress ng BDBD sa Baao, Camarines Sur. We expect Sharon Cabusaw Silva to join us mula sa Lila, Pilipina at si Cham Perez ng Center for Women's Resources. Let's start our discussions with the opening statements of our guests. Simulan natin kay Sister Mary John Mananzan. Ano po ang kalagayan ng kababaihan ngayon? May COVID na and we're under a transformative presidency of President Rodrigo Duterte.
What? Transformative? Excuse me. Anyway, where are we?
To start the ball rolling. Sige po.
Okay. First of all, happy International Women's Day. Although it's March 8 pa. No, but I am greeting you all now kasi matagal, actually ang problema ng kababaihan magmula pa nung umpisa, no? At saka ang women's movement din ay matagal na. Pero I have to say that even after all that, today ang kalagayan ng kababaihan ay hindi pa rin equal at saka they are still suffering violence. In fact, there is a statistic now that because of this pandemic, nadodoble ang number ng violence against women and children. Kahapon lang nagkaroon kami ng webinar on this at talagang sinabi ng mga social workers at sa statistics nila talagang tumaas kasi nandyan lahat ang mga perpetrators nasa bahay. Nandyan din ang mga bata, wala sila sa eskwela. So they're all confined in one room and therefore all the things like incest and all that has gone higher according to the statistics sabi ng mga social worker, no? So at saka triple burden na ngayon ang mga kababaihan. Noon sa normal times double lang. Ngayon triple kasi kung ano-anong mga ginagawa nila sa bahay sila, nagtatrabaho sila ang nagtuturo sa mga bata. Ito yung sinasabi na yung pangalan dito, yung digital education. Pero talagang sino ang nag-eduka? Ang nanay. The fathers have no patience to do that or they don't even know how. So talaga kung titingnan mo, sino ang nagtuturo sa mga bata ngayon sa kanilang bahay? Mga kababaihan. Kaya nagpupugay tayo sa lahat ng kababaihan kasi talagang they are expert in multitasking.
Very good. And that's just to begin the discussion, Sister Mary John. Si Dr. Krishna Ray Palses, siya po yung Director ng Gender and Development ng Philippine Normal University. How are things going in the academe, Dr. Palses?
The academe in general is of course suffering like the rest of the industries and the institutions that we have on a global scales. But I am proud to say that PNU is leading with this coping strategies that we have. And we are trying to, let's say, mix with our pandemic responses, innovations in the educational system that might let's say, endure beyond the pandemic. So the Philippine Normal University has always been steadfast in trying to come up with strategies, even before the pandemic, to improve Philippine education. And right now, I think, we are leading the way. We are one of the most active and most anticipative educational institutions that are taking care of things. This is, as Sister Mary John has said, these things are not easy, especially for the women, especially for the women educators, and especially for the women learners. So we are trying to craft gender crisis response programs headed by my office, the University Center for Gender and Development, which I am currently the officer in charge. So there is a lot to be done, and we are in the middle of that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Maraming salamat, Dr. Pauses. Mula sa lalawigan, kasama natin si Bernadette de los Santos. Siya yung foundress ng BDBD. This is an endeavor to at least add meaning and value and recognition to women. Yes, Bernadette, please. Your thoughts about today. How are the women today?
Regarding the women here in our place, Baao Camarines Sur, which is a third-class municipality, I was actually surprised, but not really, because there have been additional applicants and additional mothers who have applied to take the embroidery to their homes para makadagdag sa kanilang family income. So magmula nung mag-lockdown po, kasi yung mga farmers, binisita pa tayo ng 3 bagyo dito sa Bicol region. So yung agricultural sector natin is very much down. Tapos yung mga may asawa naman po na nagtatrabaho sa Manila, na nagsarahan yung mga companies, nag-uwian na dito. So yung mga kababaihan, nakakatuwa kasi na-realize nila that what I have been promoting, like skills that they have to learn so that they can work at home while taking care of their families, and at the same time add to their family income, are now being appreciated by the women here, especially here in Baao Camarines Sur. Yun po ang dito sa Baao po.
Okay, pero yung bang 4Ps nakatulong dahilan sa controversial ito? Sabi, sa halip na magtrabaho, medyo umasa na sa buwan ng benepisyo.
Ako, Sir Melo,
Aha.
actually, the trainees that I initially taught how to do the hand embroidery were all 4Ps beneficiaries. Not all, but 90% of them were 4Ps beneficiaries. The DSWD has this reasoning that if the program of the 4Ps is not anymore available to these families, at least they have skills that they can use to earn extra for their kids to send to school or for putting food on their tables.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Sister Mary Jan, yung problema natin ngayon ay hindi biro. Maraming nawalan ng trabaho. Anong maaaring gawin? Kung tatanungin kayo ni Pangulong Duterte, what ought to be done?
Ang problema, ang tingin ko, no? First of all, dapat yung gobyerno mas efficient in the way they are handling the disease, no? I mean the COVID. I mean, kung titignan mo, huling-huli tayo sa mga effectively facing the crisis. Nakalagay yan sa periodiko, tayo ang pinakahuli. Yung mga province, mga countries na kagaya natin, kasi pobre natin, mas mataas na sa atin, no? Mas magaling silang mag-answer, kagaya ng Vietnam, kagaya ng Taiwan. They are the best. New Zealand, sila yung tatlong the best way of handling sila, wala silang lockdown, alam mo ba? Kasi ang inunang ginawa nila, tinesting nila lahat ang mga tao. Tapos they isolated the positive ones. Hindi na nag-spread yung disease. Kaya hindi sila nagkaroon ng mga quarantine, mga ganyan. So walang nawalan ng trabaho, walang nagkaroon ng heavy burden ang mga kababaihan. Yun, ang tingin ko, even sa itong mga vaccine na to, ang dami-dami controversy. My goodness, may corruption pa. Dapat alisin lahat ng mga yan, no? At saka, may tinanong nga ako si Sunny ng Ibon. Sabi ko, kung ikaw presidente, anong gagawin mo ngayon? Sabi niya, ipapairal ko muna ng ako. Talagang I will implement yung 10,000 pesos sa lahat, subsidy sa lahat ng pobreng pamilya. Yan ang unang gagawin daw niya. Tapos mag-umpisa nga siya. Yung ginagawa ni Bernadette, BDBD, ayan ang dapat gawin sa lahat ng bansa, you know? sa buong country natin na bigyan ng skills at bigyan ng trabaho ang mga kababaihan.
Aha. Okay.
At saka the DSWD has to be very very alert kasi nga yung rise ng violence against women and children na nangyayari sa COVID sa mga kabahayan ay yung mga what do you call this, barangay captain dapat magmatsyag sila. They should go around their villages to see that violence against women and children are not happening, or if it is happening, that they are able to stop it. Diba? I think that is very imperative.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, the Constitution recognizes that the Filipino family is the core of our society. But how is the Filipino family now? Because we are saddled with overseas employment, making families dysfunctional. So, anong
Totoo.
impact nito, sister?
Ay napakalaki kasi kung magkasama na nga yung asawa, nangangaliwa pa yung asawa. Di lalo na kung magkahiwalay sila, di ba? Ang daming mga niyan ang mga repercussion niyan talaga sa pamilya. Kasi syempre, they are not together. Sabi ko nga, if they are together, may infidelity pa. Di lalo kung hindi sila together. At ang impact niyan sa bata, alam mo, ang bata ay disciplined better by parents than by mga lolas. Kasi iba kasi ang lola at lolo. No, even if they love the children, they cannot discipline them the way parents discipline them. Kaya ang lumalaking mga kabataan natin, marami na nasusulong sila sa bisyo, sa drugs, sa kung ano-ano. Kasi, ayun na nga, dahil wala silang parents, no? Nasa abroad, ganyan. O another thing pa pala, Melo. There is now talagang proliferation of cyber pornography, cyber prostitution, na ang mga biktima ay mga bata. And the sad thing about it is mga parents pa ang pimp nila. Do you know that? Tanungin mo sa cyber guardian. Tawagan mo si Chichi at sasabihin niya sa iyo lahat kung anong nangyayari sa cyber natin. Imagine, pinakita niya sa akin yung isang video. Yung bata nakaharap sa television, may nagsasalita sa television, sasabi niya, now alisin mo yung kamisa dentro mo. O alisin mo yung pants mo. Tawagin mo yung sister mo. Ganon. Tapos ang mga parents naman, ang tingin nila, ay, wala namang kwenta yun kasi hindi naman nila tinatouch yung aking mga anak. Ay, worse pa nga nangyayari kasi they are letting them have sex with one another. Even the parents, to touch them like that. Anong mangyayari sa mga batang ito? They will have a consciousness of sex when they are not even ready for anything, no? So ang mangyayari, they are either going to be promiscuous when they are older, or actually they will be very afraid of being touched and so forth. So ito ang nangyayari ngayon sa cyber prostitution natin is really, really rampant. So that's what people have to
sister, so mas mabuti pala, sister, wala na munang internet connection para walang negosyo.
Hindi, I mean to say, actually, these things are neutral. It depends upon how you use them. But what I'm trying to say is that really, people who want to earn money in an easy way and even in a lascivious way, they will take advantage. In fact, ang tingin ko, in business, sabihin mo, alisin na, we have to use the media to do good. Diba? We should also propagate good values, tapos mga stories na inspiring, etc., etc. It's not a solution to just do away with it, but make good use of it, di ba?
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to greet Mon Esberto, a good friend from PLDT and Smart. He retired recently and he's watching us. Si Attorney Dennis Gorecho is also watching us.
Friend ko rin si Esberto.
Yeah, of course. So several others. Pero let me ask Dr. Pauses. Dr. Pauses, your students from Philippine Normal University come from the best, but not necessarily those who have a lot of money and resources. They're government scholars. So how true is it that there are students in your university who find it hard to adjust with the gadgets required for this blended system of education these days?
That is actually true, not just in our university, but in other universities as well, high schools and grade schools. And what is surprising is, if I may share, this is because I also teach part-time in DLSU. What is surprising is that even what we could call richer educational institutions are also having problems with not with the gadgets, but with the connection and with the whole organization and the delivery of this flexible or what we call online learning. So it is a huge challenge that we have already, through the leadership of our President Bertuga, anticipated, and we are nonstop in collecting help that can be converted into money to purchase gadgets that we can distribute to the most, let's say, needy among our students. And I think we already have at least several batches of laptops and learning gadgets that has been distributed through the initiative of our Vice President, Lord Vergara. So we are, as I said earlier, we know these things are happening and they are crucial. They are integral to be addressed, and we have been addressing them since last year. And up to this day, we are still gathering info, gathering feedback from students in order to respond to these real hardships that our students are encountering.
It is indeed difficult, no? Pero yung noong dekada 90, nung meron pang ano ba, pork barrel, if I recall, there was one senator, si Senator Raul Roco, may he rest in peace, who utilized his funds sa Philippine Normal University, that's what I learned, at yung mga magkakaklase will decide on who among them will avail of the so-called Roco meal. Kung sino makakakain. Dahilan sa isang problema ng mga bata, walang problema yung tuition. Lalo pa ngayon, libre na. No? Pero yung sustenance, yung pangkain, yung pang-project at iba pa. I don't know how the university is coping with this gargantuan requirements today.
I think it's all about dialogue. Our Vice President for Academics, Jenny Hoxton, has made clear that she has an open line with our student government, who represents the students. So every now and then, I believe they have some meaningful exchanges regarding the status of learning of the students and these difficulties. And you're right, the tuition is free, but there are still some outstanding challenges that our students are facing. And I think an aside comment, it's very great that you mentioned the former and the late Senator Raul Roco. As far as I can remember, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I think he was given the title of honorary woman, during his lifetime, because he is not just pro-poor, he is also pro-woman, this great senator.
Exactly.
Yeah. The problem is there are some elected to office who are not only pro-women, who have proven to be womanizers, no? And that's a great hell of a
iba
system.
yun.
Diba?
That is different.
Different. Oh.
No, that's...
ang pro-woman is for women. Ang womanizer, yung nag-aabuso ng women na iba-iba pa.
Mabuti na baliwanag sa ating mga kababayan. Sister, sinasabi na yung inyong background sa theology, ang sinasabi kasi what has God put together, let no man put asunder. But there are moves that there's got to be divorce. How do you look at this?
Well, actually, even in the Bible, it says, unless is because, even if you look at you look at that, what do you call that, yung kino-quote mo, actually may kasunod yun, unless because of adultery, no? Nakalagay yun doon. No, but I'm not advocating it, but ang tingin ko, there has to be a way by which husband and wife, if they cannot really settle with each other, talagang magpapatayan na, I don't think they should live together. They do not have to divorce, they should separate. But ang problema dyan kasi, ang woman cannot separate kasi she is not economically independent. Yun na nga ang ina-advocate ko, the economic independence of all women, especially wives. Kasi yung binubugbog na asawa, yung halos hindi siya makaalis-alis kasi wala siyang separate income. In fact, meron akong kilala na tinulungan ko pa, natira siya sa akin ng 1 month. At the end, sinabi niya sa akin, "Sister, I have to go home." Bakit? Sabi ko, because I cannot leave my husband without having with me my 4 kids. But now my 4 kids, because mayaman ang asawa niya, they're going to private schools, they have the car, they have all the luxury. Sabi niya, "Sister, kung ako lang ay nagtatrabaho ng simpleng trabaho, mabibigyan ko ba ng lahat ng luxury ang aking mga anak? Hindi ko mabibigyan." Kaya umuwi siya sa kanila. You know, after 1 year, nagkaroon siya ng cancer of the throat and she died. That is very symbolic to me, yung cancer of the throat. Cannot shout, cannot make expression of all her frustration. Yun. That is a real story. That is not a fiction story. That is a real story because I helped her for a month.
Yeah. Sister, merong isang batas, actually it's not a law yet, but there's a court decision in China na nagsabi na yung mga kababaihan for doing domestic work should get paid. Dahil lang sa merong isang nag-file ng divorce na sabi dapat mong bayaran yung misis mo for the work she did for 5 years. Dahil walang bayad yun, walang appreciation, hindi tumutulong sa pag-aalaga ng bata. Ano po ba yun, sister?
Exactly. I agree with that. And alam mo kasi, nung araw, sasabihin lang, okay, division of labor. Diyan ka sa bahay, ako sa labas, no? Nagtatrabaho tayong dalawa for the family. Excuse me, meron bang pamilya ngayon na iisa lang ang nagtatrabaho? Almost all the families I know, both husband and wife, work outside the home. Pero nagbago ba ang pamamalakad sa bahay? Hindi. Kaya tinatawag nating double burden sa mga kababaihan. Nagtatrabaho na nga sa labas, parehong oras yun from 8 to 5. Pagbalik nila sa bahay, sila pang lahat. Diba? That is unfair. Kaya sa akin, kung may sasabihin na bayaran ang mga kababaihan na nagtatrabaho sa bahay, I agree.
Can I share something in connection with that,
yes, please.
Sir?
Yeah,
Sir Melo. Yeah, so because of this is in relation to Sister Mary Jan. By the way, it's an honor to meet you virtually, Sister Mary Jan. I've always been a fan of you.
Ay, hello. Alam mo, magkasama kami ng Philippine Normal School nung kami ay nag-umpisa ng mga kababaihan.
Yes.
I forgot the name of your teacher na ngayon ay nasa Visayas na.
It's always a pleasure.
I don't know if you remember her. The first one who began your women's group there.
Okay.
Sige, ano sasabihin mo?
So well anyway, let me just share something. So my wife and I were working. We both used to have work before the pandemic, but because of the pandemic, her company got hit badly, and so now she has no work, and now she's a full-time housewife. So we do not have help anymore, and she's doing all the housework. And I thought that at the beginning, I was thinking, well, okay, well, at least you're lucky you get to just stay at home. That was my mindset. But right now, after but please let me. But that was my mindset. But now I could see how much more difficult it is for her, because taking care of a house, taking care of 2 kids, which we have, is actually a lot more stressful than what I'm doing. You know, so I really have a huge appreciation for the housewives, and I think it's right to demand appreciation and perhaps monetary appreciation for this kind of work, because it is hard work. It's not just work. It's very, very hard. It's stressful. It's emotional because you get to, it's kids. It's kids. You can't, you know, the connection is there. You can't just injure that connection. So it's a very, very difficult task, and our wives are doing it, and they're so noble in doing it. So we really need to earn more respect, give them more respect while they're doing this very noble thing.
Yeah. Siguro
I agree.
Yeah.
Melo, may I say something?
Sure.
Melo.
Yeah.
Alam mo, sa akin, tamang-tama ang sinasabi niya. Pero ang tingin ko, ang mas mabuti, dapat tulungan din ng lalaki ang babae. Dapat hindi lang lahat sa kanya, no? Dapat yung talagang there is a division of labor also in the house. I mean to say, pagluluto, marunong din naman magluto ang lalaki. Paghuhugas ng pinggan, pag-aalaga sa mga bata, yung digital ngayon na learning, no? Ay, bakit hindi naman ang lalaki magturo din sa mga bata? Bakit yun din ay sa kababaihan. Tapos sa discipline ng mga bata, it should be husband and wife should be talking together. Hindi yung ako ang head of the house, o pag sinabi ko, wala na kayong sabi. Sa akin dapat equal lahat yan. Yung decision making, disciplining the children, doing the chores in the home. Pag ganyan ang arrangement sa bahay, then you do not need to compensate the woman. Then pareho sila na nagtatrabaho.
There's actually great wisdom in that, and actually we're paying attention to that guideline, to that tip, because every morning until 8 a.m. I take care of the kids, and then afternoon to I think 8:30 I also take care of the kids because I have to work 8 to 5. So I pay attention. We have agreed that the term is co-parenting. Ano po? Kahit po even if the husband has work, he needs to be a co-parent. We cannot have the old mindset that the women are all about the house and then we produce let's say are the breadwinners. We cannot have that anymore. So thank you for that, Sister Mary.
Yeah, very good. Sister, baka pwede ka mag-extend ng kahit 5 minutes, ha? Sandali, may tatanong lang kay Bernadette.
Wala pa naman yung mga bisita ko.
Wala pa naman. Sige, check muna, Sister. Bernadette, ano ang karaniwang reaction ng mga may bahay, ng mga misis? Whenever natural disasters strike, aani ka na lang ng palay, mawawala yung palay mo dahil binagyo. Ano yung karaniwang coping mechanism ng kababaihan diyan sa Baaw, sa Camarines Sur?
Usually the women, especially kasi yun ang involvement ko sa mga women. Pagka kumari nasalanta ng bagyo ang kanilang almost aanihin na lang, they resort to borrowing money. Nangungutang sila, ipinapangako nila yung mga hindi pa naman nila na aani na produce, o kaya yung lahat yun halos ipinapangako nila, makautang lang sila, because ang pinaka problema nila hindi lang yung nawalang aanihin, kundi pati yung mga bahay kasi nasitira din eh. So it's very hard to see them resort to borrowing money and resort to high interest loans. And so I am really trying to educate them na if they are self-sufficient enough, meaning they earn kahit na kaunti, then they more or less are ready for such disasters. So yun po ang nakikita kong scenario dito pagka may bagyo or may problema.
Okay. Sister Mary Jan, good morning daw. Sabi ni Jam Melchor, nanonood siya. At sabi ni Rose de la Cruz, nag-a-agree siya sa sinabi.
Okay.
Yeah. There's got to be a division of labor sa bahay. Sabi ni Rose de la Cruz. Co-parenting must be institutionalized in families. Pero did you know that Sister, did you know that there are homes na ang nasusunod ay yung misis? Yung mister
talaga?
wala.
Bakit? Mali din naman yon. That means wala siyang backbone.
Hindi.
Sa akin, alam mo, ang sa akin kasi, I do not want na one is over the other. I am a feminist, but feminist doesn't mean that I want to dominate men. That's not true. I don't want any domination. I want equality. I don't want to be ayoko rin ng mga lalaking ano tawag nila doon, yung under desire. Ayoko noon. Walang, because if you are a weak father, your children also will grow up without any respect for you. What I advocate is equality. I'm not advocating that the woman should control the men and all that. No, that is a wrong notion of feminism. Feminism is for equality and not for the domination of women.
The reason I ask that particular question is, I know of some people na sabi nila, we're very thankful. President Duterte has given us a good retirement and pension program. I'm talking of some generals, no? Sabi ko, malaki ba? Malaki. Pagka ako, nakikinabang ba kayo? Hindi. Bakit? Yung ATM na kay Mrs. So wala rin ako.
Kasalanan niyo yun. Kasalanan niyo yun. Binigay niyo sa kanya.
Delikado.
I am not in favor of spineless men, okay?
Okay. At least maliwanag. At least maliwanag yun. All right. Magtungo tayo kay Dr. Pauses. Dr. Pauses, isang problema
Excuse
rin.
me, aalis na ako. Melo, I'm sorry, I have to go.
Okay, teka muna.
Okay, goodbye, thank you.
Sister,
Bye-bye.
pahabol ko lang. Anong mensahe
Ano?
mo sa kababaihan, sa kalalakihan, at sa gobyerno before you leave us in our discussions today?
What do you want me to do? Oh,
What
mga
your message?
kababaihan, you assert yourself. You fight for your rights and you empower yourself and other women. Mga kalalakihan, you have also to be conscious of your own conditioning, no? And you redefine what masculinity is. You redefine what a real man is, no? Which is a man who has respect, who is in really what do you call it, in equal position with the women, and not a spineless man, okay? Not a under desire man. No, I don't like that too. And to the government, please take care of our country in a better way. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sister. Thank you. Okay, salamat po. See you later.
Okay.
Okay.
See you.
Dr. Pauses, isang issue,
Yes.
karaniwan may nangyayari na mga harassment ng kababaihan o ng kalalakihan sa academe. In as much as you come from the office that takes care of gender and development, what measures have you to assure everyone that men and women in your university are safe? Ganun din yung nasa academe. Please.
Yeah. That has always been a possibility, but fortunately, we have recently developed laws that are very pro-women, and that ensures that to some great extent, women are protected and minors are protected and students are protected whenever there are sexual predators in academic institutions. So what schools are usually doing, and of course PNU is also doing this, is localizing these national laws as well as some international laws into our very own handbook or into our very own gender and development manual. So I know that you're familiar with for example, Ateneo has their own anti-sexual harassment policy, and PNU is already developing that as well. So this year, actually, we are slated to present to our administrators the GAD manual, which would contain the localized policies, and we have hired last December a juris doctor to help us with the language of this manual so that the legal considerations are properly made. So the laws are there, but there is an effort required for the academe to integrate that into their institutional policies, and of course to ensure that they are fairly and properly implemented within the structure. And that's what we are going to do this year.
Okay, very good, very good. Maganda naman yon kung ganon. Pero yung bang poverty ng estudyante could also trigger something which may be contrary to law? Because we have heard of some students na nagbebenta na ng sarili to cope with the requirements sa pag-aaral.
Yes, well, regarding Philippine law, of course, prostitution is illegal, especially underage prostitution. That is an aggravating circumstance. However, as far as feminism is concerned, there is no united voice against or for prostitution. Some feminists are in favor of prostitution. Some feminists are not in favor of prostitution. So that is actually quite a philosophical debate. However, as far as Philippines is concerned, yes, that is a reality, and there are some students. There are actually many students in the province or in the cities that are engaging in prostitution in order to get themselves to finish their schooling. And if I may connect your question to another reality is that students who are not financially empowered, students who are financially challenged, tend to complain with lesser frequency. They tend to just endure whatever, let's say, sexual harassment they were inflicted on, and they do not have the courage to actually fight these sexual predators who are usually in high positions in institutions. So that is also a big problem in empowerment that every GAD office should try to address.
Very good. We're joined by Cham Perez, isang executive ng Center for Women's Resources. Inaayos pa lang niya yung signal at yung kanyang video. She'll be joining us in a couple of seconds. Bernadette, let me ask you, yung grupo, yung BDBD, meron mga bags. How are these bags made? And sino ang kliyente?
Again, sino po ang?
Kliyente. Who gets to buy them?
Okay. Yeah, okay. So the Bidi women are involved in weaving, in sewing and hand embroidery, and we make different kinds of products. So the people, usually locals ang bumibili po ng mga products ng Bidi, and because now there's this new sensibility of patronizing our own products, so we are enjoying that new sensibility. Yung go local and love local, those programs, in fact, some of them are also initiated by the government, ay nakakatulong po sa mga enterprises na katulad ng BDBD.
Okay. Mamaya pakita mo yung ilang produkto ha para makita ng ating mga kasama sa media. I'd like to welcome Cham Perez of Center for Women's Resources. Cham, good morning and welcome to the discussions. Welcome aboard. Nice to see you at last. What's the latest?
Yes. Good morning po. Apologies for being
okay.
not so early.
It's all right. So what's the
Yes
latest? What
po.
have you? Anong meron? Kumusta ang kababaihan? Lalo pa ngayong may COVID.
Okay. So, sige po, tamang-tama. Today kasi, mamayang 1 p.m., the Center for Women's Resources is going to present our latest report on the situation of Filipino women. Ang main findings po namin ay nag-worsen ang situation for Filipino women sa aspect ng jobs and livelihood, sa aspect ng health, at sa aspeto ng kanilang rights or karapatan. Mahirap na yung kalagayan ng mga kababaihan even before the pandemic. Yung sabi namin last year, more than 16 million Filipino women yung economically insecure, at lalong dumami ito ngayong panahon ng pandemya with the imposition of strict quarantine rules that resulted to work stoppage at pagkawala nung livelihood o kabuhayan ng mga kababaihan. So yun, nag-worsen po ang kalagayan ng kababaihan.
Okay. Merong pagbabawal, Cham, ang pamahalaan sa paglabas ng mga nurses at iba pang mga manggagawa sapagkat kailangan sa Pilipinas. Pero kamakailan, nabanggit ni Secretary Bebek Bello na pwedeng payagang lumabas ang kababaihan patungo sa United Kingdom at sa Germany in exchange of vaccines that we need. Pero ang sabi ni Ambassador Bruce, if I'm not mistaken, ng United Kingdom, mukhang hindi niya kursunada yung ganong sistema at mukhang hindi yata uubra. What are your thoughts about this?
Unang-una, nakikita natin, pinakamalaki talaga sa health sector, no, ay mga kababaihan who are exposed to, who are frontliners and has high vulnerability to be exposed to the COVID-19 virus. Another thing is we see yung lack ng resources na inilalagay sa health sector. Kung bakit sinasabi na, tingnan po natin ayaw palabasin yung mga nurses dahil kailangan dito sa Pilipinas. Pero ano ba yung programs ng government natin para sa mga nurses? Are they protected as healthcare providers? Nag-fund ba ng malaki para sa sa pag-hire ng additional nurses or healthcare providers para mag-respond dun sa cases ng COVID, at hindi lang sa COVID kundi dun pa sa ibang health issues ng mga mamamayan. Yung nakakalungkot, yung thoughts natin dito, nakakalungkot na parang ipagpapalit mo yung human resources na kailangan natin para sa vaccine. When in fact, kung even before the pandemic ay mayroong paghahanda, dapat sana yung bansa natin may kakayanan na mag-manufacture, mag-produce ng vaccine para hindi natin kailangang ipalit yung ating human resources, yung ating mga kababaihan para doon sa vaccine. No? So, ano siya, nakakalungkot siya at nakakabahala na na parang tinitrade off, no? Yung mga kababaihan for such
Meron ako
vaccine.
nabasang term, it's commodification or something.
Exactly
Parang
po.
tinatrato mong commodity ang tao.
Na
Pero
pwede mong exchange.
yeah, isn't this tantamount to human trafficking as well? Or
Oo nga po eh. Yung sinasabi din natin, yung paglabas ng mga OFWs kahit walang pandemya, para sa atin forced migration talaga siya eh. Kasi sa kultura ng mga Pilipino, hindi natin gustong mawalay sa pamilya natin. At kung merong lang job opportunities dito sa ating bansa, ay hindi lalabas ang mga mamamayan para doon magtrabaho, lalo na yung mga kababaihan. Pero yun nga eh, even before the pandemic, women are forced to go abroad to work there for mas mataas sana na na wages, pero actually hindi din naman ganun kalaki yung sahod ng mga kababaihan na nasa ibang bansa.
Yeah.
But
masakit, ano? Masakit na katotohanan yun.
Yes po.
Okay. Anyway, without necessarily stealing the thunder from your presentation this afternoon at 1 o'clock, in which areas have you noticed that the conditions worsened for women?
Katulad po na nabanggit ko kanina, nag-worsen talaga sa lahat ng aspeto yung kalagayan ng kababaihan. Unang-una, yung economic insecurity. So, napakaraming mga kababaihan yung nawalan ng trabaho at kabuhayan. We have the exact figures that we will release later. Pero yon, tapos yung kalagayan kasi before the pandemic, concentrated na yung mga kababaihan sa insecure jobs, mga jobs na mababa yung sahod, sa mga jobs na hindi ka pwedeng tayo ng union or workers organizations, kalakhan ay mga nasa informal sector. So, nung pinatupad yung strict na quarantine rules at nag-stop nga yung work at yung livelihood, tapos sa harap ng very limited na financial assistance o yung social protection na tinatawag, saan pupunta yung mga kababaihan? Kaya nakakaisip po ng iba't ibang mga pamamaraan para mag-cope. At nakita natin talagang ang mga kababaihan nagtutulong-tulong collectively para tugunan yung kanilang mga pangailangan sa harap nga ng very limited support na nakukuha nila from the government.
Yeah, okay. Dr. Pauses, have you noticed kung napanatili ng Philippine Normal University yung inyong enrollment kahit may COVID? Malaki ba ang nabawas? May nag-drop out ba? Ano ba ang inyong status?
Well, I do not have access or full access to the data of our undergrad students since I am actually mapped in the graduate school. But as far as the graduate school is concerned, we actually experienced a huge rise on enrollment. That means that more people actually enrolled for grad school during the pandemic. We don't have a formal study completed on this yet, but we are hypothesizing that it's because of the modality. As you know, teachers would prefer to have flexible graduate school delivery system or learning delivery system, and the online delivery system is quite friendly to them who work as teachers Monday to Friday and then just need to go online to finish and to finish their master's degrees on Saturday. So it's a lot more convenient to our grad school students. However, that it might be a different story for the undergrad.
Yeah. And how many campuses do you have?
We have Manila campus, South Luzon campus, North Luzon, Mindanao, and Visayas campus. So 5 in total.
Really? Okay. Siguro
Can I,
we can... Yes?
Sir Melo, can I say something in relation to what our friend Cham mentioned earlier
Please, go ahead.
about sending women abroad? So first of all, I'd like to clarify, I'm very much against that move from or suggestion from our government to, and the term is correct, commodify our women workforce. But as far as history is concerned, Korea actually experienced something similar during the aftermath of the war in Korea, where they were trying to rise, from the ruins of the war. They actually subjected their own people to overseas work, and we're talking about bad working environment in the mines of Germany, in the mines of European countries, just so their country could get up from the ruins of war. But what's different from that Korean experience from what Filipino government is suggesting now is that they were doing it voluntarily. And they did really have no choice. They did not have corruption. They did not have mysterious missing loans from the World Bank. But the problem with, so it does happen that sometimes countries sacrifice a group of their own people in order to rise from the ashes of a certain tragedy, and in Korea's case, war. Now, in the Philippines, we are facing this pandemic, but we've had left and right loans, millions and billions of worth of loans, and yet we're still going to sacrifice our women. That is just foul, and that is just, well, very, very wrong, and that's again very unfair to this already marginalized group of people. So
I may
that's
be the
something.
oldest. I may be the oldest in the panel, in the group today. Out na kasi si Sister Mary Jan. She's 83 eh. Pero from what I heard, I grew up in Pasay during the 60s. Merong mga, without sounding sexist, who are into the sex trade, who come from different countries. And these countries are north of the Philippines. Okay? I just wouldn't mention the countries, but this is what I
It's
learned.
Japan.
I wouldn't say, but basta, okay? They were into this trade, but when the country, developed, wala nang nasa ganitong kalakal ng laman. Wala na. Ang problema, yung mga Pilipino, napunta sa ganitong industriya, if you may. So there must be something wrong somewhere. I don't know. But the question is, katulad nito, Bernadette, doon sa mga kasama mo sa inyong kalakal, how are they doing? Have you noticed any marked improvement sa kanilang kabuhayan, sa kanilang purchasing power, that they will not, think of going abroad, taking the risks? Bernadette?
Yes, I think dahil dito sa ginagawa nila that they can work at home, at the same time be a mother, a sister, and teacher to the students who are staying at home. The women here in Bao Camarines Sur, I can happily say, has found contentment in earning, kahit na sabihin natin kaunti lang siya, pero hindi nila isinasakripisyo ang mawalay sa kanilang pamilya just to put food on the table. So napapansin ko dito sa mga women na nagtatrabaho dito sa akin, they take pride in what they do. So nagkaroon din sila ng confidence in that hindi na lang ngayon yung asawa ang pwedeng makapagsabing sila ang nagpapakain sa pamilya nila, because evidently the income that they earn from doing this livelihood project, the products that we do here, has somehow alleviated the poverty that they were in before they got the skills of doing the crafts that we have.
Okay. And there's that demand dun sa craft na ginagawa ninyo. The only problem is, from what I heard, hindi kasinong attractive yung hindi pagkain these days sapagkat ingat na ingat ang mga Pilipino sa paggasta ng pera, di ba? Bernadette, you'll agree with me, right?
Well, yeah, there's this sense of spending less, especially on non-essentials. But as an entrepreneur, we have to adjust to the demands of the time. So, nung una, very popular yung bidi-bidi bag, so we were concentrating on making those products. But when the pandemic came and we were stuck here in Bao Camarines Sur, we adjusted and created fashionable face masks. So, throughout the months in 2020, that has actually maintained the enterprise. Yung demand for fabric face masks. And kagaya ng nabanggit ko kanina, may sensibility ngayon ang mga Filipinos to patronize locally made products. So, ganun po yung naging demand doon sa ginagawa naming mga face masks.
Okay, good. So nakakapag-adjust naman pala. Mabuti naman kung ganun.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sa pagsusuri kaya ni na Cham, na meron kayong datos, anong pwedeng pagkakitaan, anong pwedeng gawin ng mga pamilya for them to be together despite the difficulties, despite the challenge brought about by COVID-19?
Marami po sa mga interviews namin sa mga kababaihan, mahirap po talaga. Mahirap talaga. Pero katulad nung binabanggit ni Miss Bernadette, na kakaisip ng iba't ibang pamamaraan para kumita. So, ang marami ngayon mga online selling ng kung ano-ano. Marami yan talaga. Ang nakakabahala lang, parang I'm not sure kung last year ito or a few months ago, lumabas yung itatax daw yung mga yung mga online sellers na marami diyan ay mga kababaihan. Yun yung parang instead na halimbawa yung mga initiatives na ginagawa ni na Miss Bernadette ay i-subsidize o bigyan ng support, nakaka-bother na na itatax pa lalo. Na ito lang yung ito yung pinagsisikapan talaga ng mga kababaihan at ng pamilya nila na gawin kasi nga hindi sila makalabas eh. Pag lumabas sila, huhulihin sila, o pag lumabas sila, pwede silang kasuhan dahil nagva-violate sila sa quarantine rules. So, doon lang talaga, kung ano yung pwede nilang gawin sa bahay, yun yung gagawin nila. At sana kung ano man yung mga initiatives na yun ay suportahan ng ating government, i-subsidize kung ano man yung kanilang mga initiatives. So, yun po.
Okay, good. Good morning kay Kali Manafe. She's watching us today. No? Salamat for joining at ganun din kay Rose de la Cruz. Yes, Bernadette? Yeah, okay.
Sorry, Sir Melo, can I relate what Cham and Miss Bernadette is saying to the academe, particularly to PNU? So that is right. There should be some consideration. Let's remember these are women and these are part of a marginalized sector in our community. We must pay attention to extending our hand. If we can make things better for them and easier for them, we should do that. So in the academe, it's often the problem that gender-themed researches, thesis and dissertations and studies are still in libraries where you need to purchase them, where you need to enroll or have some fees in order to read feminist works, which as far as PNU is concerned, we should make that obsolete. And that's why this year, the move of PNU is to make all our gender-themed research, thesis, and dissertation free and open access to all researchers. So that means you just have to find our website, our online library or collection. And once you're there, all our works that are gender themed will be free and accessible to all who wants to read it. Because if we put on fees on these already marginalized group of people, that makes it more difficult for them to empower themselves. And that's why in synchrony to the idea of subsidizing these businesses, PNU is making our gender themed collection accessible and open access to all. And by the way, Ms. Bernadette, I hope we can talk a little bit after this. Maybe I can email you because we would like to explore how we can purchase some of your bags so that we can use them as token for our speakers through the year.
Yeah,
Maybe we
good.
can talk later.
Yeah, that's a nice one. Anyway, it's no problem. We can always talk after. All right. Pero katulad yan, given such a situation, if we are to look forward, I don't know, Cham, do you see something? Do you see light at the end of the tunnel, or do you see light coming from an upcoming train, or probably a tunnel which has gone longer?
Ah, definitely po. There is so much to be disturbed about or to be angry about, but there is always hope, and we always have rooms for action. At nakikita ko nandun sa collective power ng mga kababaihan at ng mga mamamayan, yung mga small initiatives natin sa mga communities natin. Ito yung mga sparks nung sinasabi nating light at the end of the tunnel. Meron po, definitely. For us, magandang i-take yung opportunity na pinapresent din ng pandemic para pag-usapan what's wrong with the system. What's wrong with the system at paano natin siya sama-samang babaguhin. How do we make the condition of the workers better sa panahon ng pandemic? How do we support yung mga small enterprises natin? How do we make our society free from violence? At how do we create jobs sa ganitong context para hindi kailangan lumabas ng mga kababaihan para doon magtrabaho at ma-expose sa iba't ibang forms ng abuses. So, para sa Center for Women's Resources, mas systemic tsaka structural po yung kailangang pagbabago na gawin. So, that would entail i-review yung macroeconomic policies natin at itong tinatawag na COVID recovery. Ito yung pinakamagandang panahon para pag-usapan siya. Yun po.
Okay, pero do we have sufficient laws to push for this? Karamihan ng mga nasa Congress, kababaihan din, no? They are represented, no? Kaya lang yung Gabriela, isa lang. I don't know about the others. We also invited nga pala si Congresswoman Brosas, pero mukhang tight yung schedule. We also invited Congresswoman Nina Taduran of ACT, but we didn't hear anything. So it's okay. Probably they're busy. So do we have sufficient laws to protect women today?
We actually have relative to other countries po, no, dito sa Southeast Asia. We have quite a number of laws and policies that would supposedly protect and develop women. Medyo sa pag-legislate, medyo very good tayo doon. Ina-attribute din natin to doon sa sa lakas ng women's movement to push for the enactment of this law. So meron tayong anti-VAUSI, we have the anti-rape law, we have the Magna Carta of Women, we have the laws. Syempre meron pang mga meron pa tayong mga gustong maipasa na batas. The problem is meron din tayong mga batas that are incoherent para sa development ng women. So we do not have a genuine land reform program or law. So that is one. We have a mining act na nagbibigay ng favor sa mga malalaking mining corporations that displaces yung mga communities na mga indigenous people, indigenous women. We have, for example, yung eto recent to yung train law, yung pagdadagdag ng consumer taxes that was implemented, I think, in 2018 or 2019. Tapos may gustong ipasa na create law or create bill na magbabawas naman ng corporate income taxes. So makita natin may incoherence doon sa mga sa mga batas, although meron ka mga batas that would supposedly protect women. Kaya yun po yung challenge natin sa ating mga legislators, no. Siguro i-note ko lang po na sa Congress, although may pag-increase dun sa number of women legislators, pero nananatili na na male-dominated pa rin siya. Pero yun, male-dominated man siya o female-dominated man siya, yung challenge sa kanila ay i-rethink yung mga mga batas na gusto nilang ipasa, lalo na sa panahon ng pandemya. So, halimbawa, yun nga po. Yun. Yung create law, yung charter change. So, yun.
Cham, let me ask you. May nagsabi na ang kababaihan walang kakayahang mamuno ng bansa. May nagsalita nung kamakailan eh. How do you feel about that?
Well, ang mga kababaihan po ay sinasabi natin, may kakayanan katulad ng kalalakihan na mamuno ng bansa. Medyo kilala ko kung sino yung nagsabi doon eh. Medyo worry lang tayo doon sa kanyang statement kasi posibleng pagpa-prop up lang din doon sa gusto niyang tumakbo sa susunod na eleksyon. Pero para sa atin, ang mga kababaihan, may lakas na mamuno sa bansa o sa ating mga komunidad. So, sa mga workplaces natin, sa mga communities natin, meron tayong kakayahan na mamuno at kaya din nating mamuno ng bansa. Pero ang gusto natin ay yung hindi basta babae ay go na tayo para maging leader ng bansa natin. Siyempre, kailangan tiyakin natin may track record at saka magsisilbi talaga siya sa interes ng mga kababaihan at namamayan.
Okay. Well, a good example is Angela Merkel, Si Angela was being asked, bakit yan na naman ang suot mo? Suot mo na nung araw yan. Ang sabi niya opisyal ako ng gobyerno, hindi ako fashion model. So you don't expect me to be, magarbo, no? Tapos, andyan din yung leader ng New Zealand who calls a spade a spade. No? And we have a lot of them. We can name a lot of them. And they've been very successful. But anyway, it all boils down to probably politics. Anyway, Dr. Powell says, what are your thoughts? Do you see some light at the end of the tunnel for women, for gender issues?
They need to fight. I always tell this to my students, they need to fight this, and fight really hard. On all levels, the academe, the government, the labor workforce, and inside their homes. This is an oppression that is as old as the civilizations that we have. So this is not simply overturned, by charisma or by a single movement. This is a continuous fight. And tama po si Ms. Cham, this cannot be taken in isolation. Kasi marginalization, as we now understand in gender studies, is within the concept of what we call intersectionality. Hindi lang sila oppressed dahil babae sila, oppressed din sila kasi mahirap sila. Dahil let's say they are taken, for granted. Siguro pamilya sila na magsasaka, tapos babae pa sila, tapos indigenous pa sila. So nagpapatong-patong po kasi ang mga, let's say, factors for marginalization. At minsan, iisang tao lang, 4-5 marginalized groups ang nire-represent niya, kaya sobra-sobra po siyang na ma-marginalize. So, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Siguro kung ikaw ay anak mayaman, anak ka ng presidente na babae, Siguro pwede may light sa'yo, pero kung ikaw ay isa sa mga eyepiece na babae na last year lang pinatay ang nanay mo sa harap mo, at ngayon ikaw ang panganay na babae na makikipaglaban naman para sa karapatan ng mga lupa ng iyong mga ninuno, yan medyo madilim po ang let's say, parang mahirap mahanap ang liwanag niyan, at kailangan po ng tulong hindi lang ng kababaihan kundi ng iba't iba pang mga sektor ng lipunan magkaisa para tulungan itong mga babae na hindi lang babae kundi eyepiece, kundi sila ay part din ng mga ang mga financially challenged or lower social economic groups sa Philippines. Medyo mas matindi po ang pinagdaraanan ng mga kababaihan na nandun kaysa dun sa mga mayayamang taga Davao na may malalakas na tatay sa gobyerno. Tama po si Miss Cham.
Oh, okay. Yes, Bernadette, your thoughts? Paki-unmute lang. Yan. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I've always been a hopeful person. I think this is because yung buhay namin dito sa probinsya, kung magiging negative ka, mas lalo kang mababaon sa hirap. So, can you imagine that aside from being economically poor, we are frequently visited by strong typhoons. So, kailangan naming maging hopeful and kailangan naming may makitang ilaw sa end of the tunnel. Not because meron talaga kaming nakikita, but because kailangan namin yun eh. Otherwise, we just give up and be not a contributor to the development of our community. So what I do with the women that I work with, I always tell them that we just do what we have to do, and things will get better. Things will always get better.
Yeah. And that will happen because we've hit rock bottom, as they say. Once you hit rock bottom, there's no way but up. But anyway,
Yes,
I'd like to thank
Yeah.
I'd like to thank everyone who took time out to be with us in our discussions today about women amidst COVID-19. Thank you, Cham, for joining us. Thank you, Dr. Krishna Ray Palses. Thank you to Bernadette de los Santos and to Sister Mary John Mananzan. Maraming salamat po. Thank you very much. God bless us all. Till next time.